Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. I want to talk today about the stories that you tell yourself. I do this exercise with my clients where we do goal setting. And by the way, I'm doing a goal setting workshop on January the 25th. So if you want to participate, there's a link in the show notes to sign up. It's for you, my listeners, and others who are interested in doing a real good personal goal setting program. Couple of hours so that you can get yourself ready for the year, so you can do the things that you want to do and not let life get in the way of all that stuff, right? So you can focus on stuff that's important to you and not get pulled away in other directions. So I do this exercise with people in my class where we have a piece of paper and it looks like it's like a very wide H, right? It's two upright vertical lines and then a long line in between the two, right? Like a big wide H. And on the left-hand side, the left-hand top of the upright, you write the year you were born. What year were you born, right? Write the numbers in there. And then on the far right upright, on the very top, you write the year that, based upon your health, your family history, and how you're living your life, what might be the year that you move on to the great beyond? It's kind of a scary thought. Most of us don't think about that. But life is finite, and surely accidents happen and things happen that might be unfortunate, might take us out of what we plan on, but might as well have a plan, right? Might as well start. And so put that time there on the far bar, shows the length of time you plan to be on the planet. And the horizontal line in between is your lifeline, right? The next thing I ask people to do is to put a hash mark of where you are right now. So you can see how much time has passed and theoretically how much time is left. And then we put a mark for when one would hope to not have to work for money anymore. I think the idea of retirement is so different than it was in my parents' generation, where people, wait till they turn 65 and then they quit and then they go travel or whatever. And I just don't think that that's realistic today. I think that people realize we've got a whole lot more energy. We've got a whole lot more life to live. And sometimes if you're loving what you're doing or you want to do something else work-wise, go for it, right? You don't have to quit at 65. But the question I ask people is, right, so how much time between now and when you'd hope to move on, and then how much time is left between now and when you hope to quit your job or not have to work for money anymore? And the next hash you put on there, well, you figure out how many years would you have left to live after that. So we're breaking our life into chunks just to visualize how much time we have left. And the point of the exercise is really not to wait until after you no longer have to work to start living your life. And that's a cool thing for people to visualize and begin to plan around. What are the cool things you want to achieve that you ought to start planning for, maybe doing right now? But then towards the end of that exercise, I say, what can we do about the stuff to the left of where you are now? Between the time you were born and today, what can you do about that? And my answer used to be, maybe like what you're saying, is nothing. Nothing you can do. It's all over. That shit is done. But then I realized that was the wrong answer. What can we do? We can look at the stories we're telling ourselves about what's happened up until now. And if we need to, if those stories are self-limiting or they make us the victim or they're somehow telling us the limits of who we can be, we can change those stories. Think about this, right? So many excuses come from somebody like me could never do that, or I didn't go to this school, or I didn't go to college, or I didn't go to graduate school, or my family, we never made a whole lot of money, right? Or I'll never be able to be around those kind of people. And it's weird, right? Maybe those aren't top of mind stories, but those are stories. Some of them are stories you're telling yourself about life today, about what the future could be based upon your past. And just know that where you are today, exactly right now, is because of decisions you've made up until now, right? Every bit of where you are today is because of decisions you've made, the compounding of all the decisions you've made till right now. However, sometimes we tell ourselves stories. I'll give an example. I had a coach who's very good. He challenged me a lot. And he asked me a couple of years ago, he said, Walker, who's somebody you admire? Who's somebody that maybe you don't know them, but you know of them, that if your life ended up like theirs, you'd be super happy? Who is that person? And I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it. And I said, my dad. He said, okay, tell me why. I said, my dad was a professional. I said, had lots of admirers. He was a great guy. I mean, he was never a billionaire or anything. He didn't ever get super wealthy, but he lived a very comfortable life. And man, if I could do that, that would be great. And my coach said, why would you limit yourself to that? Why would you not shoot for more than that? And I thought, I don't know. That's just always where I've seen myself going. And he said, why not? Why would your goal not be multi-generational wealth? And I thought, at this age, I can hardly imagine that. My fault. I can hardly imagine that. Why? Because I haven't ever thought that way. Those aren't the stories I've been telling myself. Those aren't the stories I tell myself about who I am and who I'm going to be. Do you have stories like that? Have you decided that because of whatever reason, because you got a divorce, because you took the quote wrong job, because you did this, because you did that, you'll never be more than X? See, those are stories that limit us, limit who we can be, limit who we are. Now, if I were telling myself instead I could be a great NBA player, it's complete bullshit, right? But there are things within my control that were in my control, that are in my control right now, that if I could change the story, which how hard is it to change a story? We do it all the time, right? We lie about shit. We lie to ourselves at what really happened. But what's a story that you're telling yourself right now about something horrible that happened in your life, or something limiting that happened, or something limiting that is in your life? And what if you change the story? And what if you thought it through and realized, well, that was bad at the time, but look what's come out of that. There's been a lot of growth, a lot of learning, a lot of cool shit that's happened because of a struggle. Shit, 6 or 7 years ago, I was in a financial ditch. Some of y'all heard this story, I had to sell my house because of this entrepreneurial dream that we had. We were poor, we were broke, right? We had to go month to month, right? And I could tell that story as a victim and how I got screwed and how this, that, and the other. But the reality is, shit, that's an origin story. That's one that because of that, that's toughened me up. That's made me very confident. It's also helped me build this damn business, is to recognize what I've been through and how that has helped me accelerate my growth. Knowing that this is something that was a firebrand that toughened me up. Had I not gone through it, I wouldn't be where I am today. Think about some stories you tell of yourself as a victim, and how could you change that where you're not the victim, where something good came out of what it was that you can take advantage of right now, maybe change the trajectory of your life moving forward. Notice the stories people around you tell about themselves and wonder what would happen if they could change those stories. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. You want to come to a goal setting workshop? Look in the show notes. We'll have a link to sign up there. Would love to have you there. Or if you want to talk about sales, you want to talk about how to improve your team, improve your own skills, email me, walker@walkermckay.com. Love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course, where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.